The first voter registration weekend ahead of next year's national and provincial elections is underway. Registration stations will be open today. Well, they've opened already and tomorrow between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And voters can also register online. We're now going to cross to our reporter covering the registration weekend in the Eastern Cape, Abongile Jantjies. A very good morning to you, Abongile. Thank you so much for joining us. Where exactly in the Eastern Cape are you and what's happening there?
Well, Sampiwe, a very good morning to you. We're coming to you from the provincial headquarters of the IEC here in the Eastern Cape in East London, where we're about to engage with the officials here at the commissions here, and they are saying that there have been some complications and some disruptions in some parts of the province. But let's get more from the electoral officer, provincial electoral officer, Osis Kayagazi Makudumana. Ma'am, thanks a lot for your time. Despite all the plans that you have made, but we are experiencing some challenges in some parts of the province. Kindly take us through.
Good morning and thank you for having us. Yes, we do have stations that are having issues with community protests. The registration staff is ready to operate those stations, but the communities are just not allowing them to open the stations. They've used different padlocks. They can't even access those voting stations. And these voting stations are in Alfredzo. There is 7 in Alfredzo, 2 in OR Tambo, and 1 in Sarapatman. But the SABC have been dispatched to assist with these issues, and we hope that we'll be able to be operational soon.
Won't this have an effect throughout the weekend? Sorry.
I doubt, because it's communities that are having issues with the service delivery. So they are requesting that the MMs or the mayors actually come and address them. And remember that this has happened in the past elections as well. And when it does, the MMs and the mayors, they do respond to them and they're able to address them, and we then operate shortly after there is that solution.
Okay, take us through your readiness to hold these 2 days. And you are saying you're ready. I understand that there are over 4,000 voting registration points throughout the province. Take us through that.
Yes, there are 4,868 voting stations in the Eastern Cape, and we are ready. We have opened actually all stations, as I've just alluded, that with the exception of the areas where there are challenges. We've worked very hard. We must remember that 4,868 voting stations that are held in a province that have serious challenges when it comes to bad roads and so on. So it's not even easy to access those roads at times. We remember that yesterday the weather was quite bad in the afternoon, but still we're able to open our stations this morning, with the exception of this 7 that is not operational, but still they are in the voting stations and ready to serve the first person that comes.
You've been holding campaigns in an attempt to lure young people to register to vote, but how has that been going?
We've tried our best. We've tried our best as a province. We had a target of 340 high schools, and we did that. We visited all those high schools. We also visited all institutions of higher learning in the province, trying our best to make sure that they are indeed included in the voters' roll. But when we compare our numbers to the latest Stats SA figures, when you look at the 18 to 19 age band, we are only 16%. Most of the young people in that age band are not necessarily registered. And when you look at the age band of 20 to 29, or 30 rather, we are just at 45%, meaning that those are the two serious age bands that are not necessarily interested in ensuring that they register. And you'll recall that they've been saying that they don't want to go to queues. Why must they come and visit our stations? Why must they come and visit our offices for purposes of voter registration? And as a commission, we're able to hear to that call, and people now can actually register online. Yes, looking at the stats, we just have over a million people that have made use of this online facility, and about 45% of the people that have registered on this capacity is young people. We are hoping that today they will be able to come to our stations and take part in this important process.
For someone who's unsure on why they should register to vote for next year's elections, how do you encourage that person who's uncertain at this stage?
I am encouraging people to come. It's better to be on the voters' roll than on the day of an election you decide whether you go to vote or not, rather than being outside the voters' roll. Because remember, we are doing this voter registration now, and there's a time closer to the election day where we will close the voters' roll. And when we close the voters' roll, it doesn't matter how interested in taking part in that particular election, you will not be able to vote. Is it not then safe for one to be registered and decide whether you go or not, but knowing that you are able to go if you do decide to go? There are many parties in the country, and why can't you give a chance to one of those parties? There are parties that are new, there are parties that are old. You may continue to to vote for the party that you've been voting for. You may want to change your mind and give a chance to a party that is completely new, that speaks to you when you listen to their campaigns. Why would you then decide not to be part of a process? Rather be registered than not being registered, and take a decision on the day of election whether you're going for that voting process or not.
Thanks a lot for your time, ma'am, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Well, Simpiwe, Ms. Kayakazi Makudumana, the Chief Electoral Officer provincially of the IEC here in the Eastern Cape, taking us through what can we expect throughout the next 2 days of voter registration. Even though there are challenges, but she remains committed and hoping that those voting registrations that are experiencing some unrest and challenges, they will be sorted out by the South African Police Services.